So you're ready to build your first home theater in your house. Now, you've just left the movies, you are completely immersed in a great story, the sound was incredible, the visuals were amazing, and you want to take that home. This will be my recommendations for a starter package if you're building your first home theater system in your home. Guys, welcome to Kevis Films and Home Theater. If you like films and home theater, make sure you hit the subscribe button. Now, before we start, I want to talk about a baseline, where I'm going to start from. I'm going to assume that you already have a TV. I am going to assume that TV is likely a smart TV, which comes with different apps, such as maybe Netflix, Prime, Paramount, you name it. Now stick around if you don't have a smart TV, and towards the end, I will give you some of my suggestions on what you can do. And the cool thing about this build here is going to be a package you can actually buy from Amazon. So what are the advantages of that? Well, they're free returns. So if you can put together your package and you don't like it, you can return it. The following brands that I'm going to mention are brands that I've either owned in the past or that I've heard really good reviews about. I'm trying to keep this to be not very expensive. At the same time, I'm not trying to get you to start with something that might be of just a really starting point. I'm not going to talk about soundbars. I want to talk about a true 5.1 system where you do have a center speaker, you're going to have a right and left speaker, and you're going to have a rear right and a rear left speaker for your 5.1, as well as with a subwoofer. The first speakers I want to talk about are going to be the front left, front right, and your rear speakers. Now, we're going to start with Klipsch, a brand that's pretty well known. We're going to talk about their reference line. They also have higher lines above that, like the RP line, but in this case, I want you to start looking at the R-51M bookshelf speakers. Now again, this is the reference line. What you're going to get here is going to be a speaker that's going to drive like pretty loud. Klipsch as a whole has a good sensitivity, most of the speakers. It's going to be pretty loud. It's going to give you good space overall. And it's not going to break the bank. These come out for about $220 a pair. So you're looking about $440 to get your left, right, and your rears. From there on, I want you to move on to your center speaker. And again, we're kind of keeping with the Klipsch family. And I'm going to start you off with the R-52C from Klipsch. This should blend pretty well with the other speakers in terms of sound as a whole. I'm also recommending a few speaker stands. I don't know. I'm also assuming that you may have a credenza or an entertainment system in the front where you can sit your center speaker as well as your receiver and maybe your left and right speakers. If you don't, I'm recommending a speaker stance that would work pretty easily with these Klipsch speakers. Moving right along, let's talk about the subwoofer. So we talked about 5 speakers, now I want to talk about the point 1, which is the subwoofer. There are many subwoofers that probably start, you can find them pretty cheap. Now, I've used Klipsch subwoofers in the past, I've used JBL subwoofers in the past. They're more entry level when I first used them. The first big upgrade that I made, that I felt a big difference, was going with an SVS subwoofer. So I'm actually going to recommend here, it's a little bit pricey, it's about $600, but it is the SB-1000 from SBS. It's a seal subwoofer, not very big, probably about 31 pounds, easy to move around the room, but it will give you that difference. Your 5.1, obviously when you have speakers on, that's great, but when you add that subwoofer, it does bring everything to a different level. So once you have the 5.1 speakers that I just talked to you about, we're going to need a receiver that's going to be able to drive the actual amplify the sound to your speakers. The receiver that I'm going to recommend is the Denon A760H. It's actually a 7.2 receiver, meaning that you're going to have possibility to upgrade to 2 speakers later on as you like to maybe move on to the Atmos world and maybe add 2 upper Atmos speakers to your system. But right now we're concentrating on a 5.1 system just to get you started. So this receiver comes with Odyssey. Now Odyssey is going to help you calibrate your system. It's going to help you set distances to your system. It's going to set your crossovers as well to your system. I've also included in the links an HDMI cable, 6-foot cable that you will need to connect your receiver to your TV. As well, let's talk about speaker cables. You will need speaker cables. It's actually not very daunting to wire up your speakers. There are many tutorials out there on how to connect speaker wire to your speakers. I'm recommending a spool of about 100 feet of 16 gauge wire from Amazon. And lastly, I'm recommending wall acoustics. Now, I was able to kind of search through Amazon and find that it just maybe something that's more attractive to put on the walls, but you need to make sure that your walls are treated. And that may be too, maybe you've got a TV in a living room and you've got windows and they may have curtains around the windows. You have obviously your furniture, and you want to make sure, again, that you kind of just treat those bare spots. If you have a lot of echoes, it can mess with your sound, it can mess with your hearing, it can mess with the actual understanding of dialogue in films. So that's one thing that I encourage you to look into. I'm not going to get too in depth when it comes to that. I don't know your setup, whether you're going to be in a living room, in a bedroom, or in a dedicated room. Obviously, if you're in a dedicated room, there's a lot more that you might want to do. If you're in a living room and you want to keep it fairly simple, again, there's some artwork, acoustics that you can get. You might want to get a few of those just to give you a starter, but know that you will probably need something on your walls to help absorb some of the sound and kind of get rid of some of the reflections. If you don't have a smart TV, but you like to actually get into this world of surround sound and you like to have something you can stream with, maybe you have an older DVD player, or you want to get a streaming device, what I recommend is something like a Roku 4K thumbstick. What you will actually end up plugging that into your receiver. Your receiver will be connected to the TV, so then you're able to actually stream different apps. Roku will come with Netflix, Amazon, just a bunch of different apps that you can actually stream from. Just obviously some of those, pretty much every app, you have to pay some kind of a membership, but it's an option out there if you don't have anything for your TV. If you do have a DVD player or you'd like to get a Blu-ray player, I'm also recommending the Panasonic UB450. I have the UB420. This is just a recent Panasonic Blu-ray player that was released maybe some point, maybe late last year. It has everything the UB20 has. It doesn't have HDR tone mapping, I believe, or the HDR optimizer than the 420 does, but it does have Dolby Vision. So that wraps up phase one. Eventually in the future, what I'd like to do is maybe offer up maybe an upgrade path to get to from the starter level to get to a little medium level and maybe in a higher level. But what I want to do is, guys, it's for you to be able to experience a system that has 5 different speakers and a subwoofer beyond obviously the TV speakers, or if you have a soundbar, getting 5 separate speakers will actually be able to expand the sound in your room, and you will be able to enjoy movies a lot more, and they'll stand out. You'll get more immersed in the film itself. Granted, at the end of the day, you need good movies, you need quality movies, and everything else kind of falls in place. I hope this video gives you a little bit of movement towards your first 5.1 system in your house. This is not as daunting as it seems. Once you get your speakers, your receiver, your wires, and your connections, you'll be able to start enjoying films a lot different than what you have before. If you're just coming from a TV, again, you're trying to bring that theater feeling and sound into your home one level at a time. Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoy this content, please subscribe, and I will catch you on the next one.